Today, I'm going to be reviewing Diadem tennis rackets. Over the past few weeks, I've had a chance to play with all 5 Diadem tennis rackets, and I've reviewed both the Nova and the Elevate racket from Diadem. So the Nova series has 3 different variations, which I'll talk about here in a second, and then the Elevate series has two different models that we'll get into as well. Now, Diadem is not the most popular tennis brand. They are, however, one of the fastest growing tennis racket brands on the market. And after testing and reviewing these Diadem rackets, I will say they are as good, if not better, than any of the other leading brands you'll find out there. So don't let that kind of hold you back from testing out or purchasing a Diadem racket. So the first racket we'll get into is their Nova tennis racket. I have that here in my left hand. The Nova series is more geared towards power. It's more of a beginner to intermediate level racket. Advanced players who play singles might like it a lot as well. It has a 100 square inch head, a 16 by 19 string pattern. So you're able to generate plenty of power, plenty of spin. What I found when I hit with the Nova tennis rackets is that I was easily able to get a lot of depth from the baseline. So when I was hitting my ground strokes from the baseline, it was really easy to swing the Nova rackets, and it was really easy to get the ball well past the service line, push my opponent back, things like that. As you can see here, it's got a pretty thick beam, which helps add to that power. And Diadem has a lot of different technologies that they put into the frame. I'm not going to get into those, but we're going to include some links below the video if you do want to read more about some of the technologies. But what those technologies do is they really add to the comfort and stability of the racket. So what I found for such a powerful racket, the Nova actually has has really great comfort from the baseline. So even a slight mishit didn't feel too unstable. Obviously, I'll get into the Elevate in a second, which felt a little bit more stable. And with the Nova being a power racket, it's not going to be the most stable, but I did find that it was really comfortable when I was hitting from the baseline, especially when I had time to kind of set up for my shot. And when I did hit it in the sweet spot, easy depth, easy power, easy spin, and pretty good stability. One area that I didn't like the Nova as much was on any kind of fast-paced balls, either returning or from the net. So when I played against a player who had a really big serve, I was able to return pretty well for a powerful racket like this, but it didn't quite have the stability that I typically like on my returns or any fast-paced volleys. I like to get real close to the net. I play a lot of doubles, and when an opponent rips a ball at me, the Nova didn't have quite the stability or control that I like for my doubles game. But for most singles players, if you like to stay at the baseline, this is definitely a really great racket. It added power and spin to not only my ground strokes, but also my serve. And there are 3 different variations of this Nova racket. So the first is the Nova Lite. It's the most lightweight racket of the 3. We'll link below to some of the specifications and things like that. But it is more of a kind of beginner, maybe low-level intermediate racket because of the lightweight nature of that particular racket. If you're buying a racket for maybe a teenager who hasn't fully developed their strength yet, or somebody who's not quite as physically strong, the Nova Lite might be a good option. This is the original Nova, so it's a little bit heavier. It's standard 27-inch length. They all have the 100-inch frame size and then the 16 by 19 string pattern. The Nova is a great option for really any skill level, beginners, intermediate, even advanced players who are looking for a little more power and spin without sacrificing too much comfort or control, it could be a good option for you. And then they also have the Nova Plus, which is a little bit heavier. It's an extra 1/2 inch in length. It was my favorite of the three because that extra 1/2 inch in length added a little bit of leverage to my serve, my ground strokes. So I was able to even more easily find that depth and find that pace and power on a lot of my shots. So that was my favorite of the three. Again, the Nova series is great for power, for any ground strokes from the baseline. If you're looking to kind of control the ball, spin the ball around the court, and get plenty of depth on your shots, it's a really, really good racket. So next we'll get into the Elevate racket. The Elevate is more geared towards control. So this is a little bit more of an advanced tennis racket. It's got great feel. I liked it a lot better on those fast-paced returns and fast-paced volleys that I was talking about. I had a really good touch with the Elevate racket. And it comes in two different models. There's the Elevate, the original Elevate, and then the Elevate Tour, which is slightly heavier. The string pattern for the Elevate is 16 by 20, so that's going to add a little bit more control. But with the 16 mains, you're still able to generate plenty of spin on your serve and your ground strokes and things like that. So it's a good balance of spin and control. It's a 98 square inch head size. As you can see, it's a little bit thinner beam, which is again going to help add to some of that control. They've got a lot of the same technologies in the Elevate racket, which help with the comfort, help with the stability. And my favorite thing about this was definitely, like I was saying, on returns and volleys. It felt really, really stable. I felt like I could place the ball kind of anywhere I wanted to on the court. My touch around the net was actually pretty exceptional with this racket. I hit some of the best drop shots that I have in a long time. And that could be partly because of the strings. The strings here are one of Diadem's textured strings. So they use kind of a star-shaped pattern. And I'll link to that below as well so that you can see that. But my touch and feel around the net was really, really good with this racket. Because it is a control racket, it's not going to have quite as much power. I did have a little bit more difficult time finding that depth from the baseline and even on my volleys. So although I can control my volleys really well, I wasn't able to get them quite as deep in the court as I would always like to. But usually I like to volley to the opponent's backhand, so I was easily able to do that. They just landed a little shorter in the court than I would typically like. Like I said, there's two different versions, the Elevate Tour. I preferred the Elevate Tour because I like a little bit heavier racket that creates a little bit more stability for me. So on some of those fast-paced returns, fast-paced volleys, the racket doesn't kind of shake too much if I'm a little bit off center. So it's a really, really great racket for intermediate to advanced level players who want more control, want more feel without sacrificing too much spin and too much power. And like I said, they're really comfortable rackets. I didn't even use a shock absorber with either of them, and they still felt really, really comfortable. So that's it for this review. Thanks for watching. And again, we're going to link below to a more in-depth written review as well as where you can buy any of the Diadem rackets. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.